Matters shows for free a week. But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications options. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatters1892@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.
Hush now, city kids, gather round for urban myths. Hush now, city kids. When it came to me after so long, I didn't have no choices in the streets where I was from. When I think about the pain, I didn't have no choices. I took what I had sworn. Hush now, city kids, gather round for urban myths. Hush now, city kids. But you know, they wouldn't let you have it any other way. Stepping back from what you like, the past just pulls you back in again. Save me from myself, it just carries on, just carries on.
Good evening, welcome along to NUFC Matters Fans Forum, the start of another week. And slightly shorter numbers tonight for various reasons, but we wish all the lads well, and the lass, of course, Chloe. We will hopefully see them all over the next 7 days. But yes, Newcastle United's latest game in the Premier League was another home defeat. Newcastle United 2, Everton 3. Disappointing, to say the least. 3 defeats on the bounce now in the Premier League. Albeit against teams who have decent away records. Aston Villa, Brentford and Everton. They aren't just names on bits of paper. They are teams which essentially have got away records. And I did err on the side of caution with my prediction prior to the game. I fancied Newcastle to edge it 2-1. Had it not been for a calamitous mistake by Nick Pope, then I think Newcastle would have got something out of that game. But it's not down to one man. It's what I will say. And as we are short on numbers, I can certainly have my say. What I will say, and of course, after a defeat, things are raw. People will say things. I kept off social media after the match. Wasn't at the game, as everybody knows. I had a gig in London that I was at, so I didn't actually get to the game, and I only saw the highlights on Match of the Day. So I can't give an honest opinion of the full match. But what I will say is I can give an honest opinion about the season in general, and where I see the main problems. And I've seen lots of people slating Anthony Gordon and Walter Marder and Alanga and Newcastle's transfer policy, and Paul Mitchell's done this, and the Isaac situation. And yes, I think all of those things are relevant, and all of those things definitely play their part. But I think Nick Pope, again, he's prone to an error. It's nothing new. It's not as if we're new to the new. That's not big news. It's not breaking news. We know he's prone to an error. He's been prone to an error since he signed for Newcastle United. I think what's become evidently clear is we haven't got anybody in reserve who is better than him, because Ramsdale is prone to an error. I do feel, me, personal opinion, that we've been bloody unlucky with injuries at the back, and I don't think that's helped. And I'll reel off the names. You know them all. Emil Kraft, Fabian Shaw, Tino Livramento, Sven Botman, Dan Burn, Kieran Trippier, all at some point this season been injured. Jamal Lascelles, let's add that name to the list as well, who's now no longer a Newcastle United player, who could have come in and done a job for us at some point. The only person who's had probably a decent run of games is Malik Chow, of course, and Lewis Hall. But we are in a big. We've got a big problem there because you can't get continuity. You can't get the game flowing when you've got a different back four circulating around Malik Chow every week. That's not going to do the goalkeeper any good. It's not going to do the team any good. I think that's a big problem. The other big problem for me has been the passing. The passing this season has been atrocious, and that's across the board. I'm afraid our passing hasn't been good enough. There's lots of people now suggesting, and this has all come from, I think it's the true Geordie who's doing a little bit more football nowadays. He's going on about zonal passing and this, that, and the other. He seems to be dipping his toe back in the Newcastle United water because it brings him the views. And look, if someone's come out of the club and said that they're doing zonal passing and Eddie's changed the tactics, then maybe he has, maybe he hasn't. But that doesn't mean that somebody who's on 70 grand a week can't pass a bloody ball to them, each other. I'm not being funny. Under-hitting passes, over-hitting passes, it's just another load of rubbish that people are throwing out there, trying to sound as if they know what they're talking about. If you're a professional footballer and you've made it to the top of the game, lads, you should be able to pass a football to the other teammate. It's basics. You don't become a professional footballer if you can't do that. So I'm not buying any of that. I just think it's unfortunate. The Champions League, it affected us last time. It's affected us this time. And I think Eddie and the team, whether it's deliberate, subconsciously, whatever, are focused more on that. And it means the Premier League is, we've got no chance of qualifying for Europe in the league this season now. I've written that off. Conference League, if we put a run together, but can we put a run together? I don't know. But as for the FA Cup, if we can get past Man City, of course we can do it. But it's a big if. And we're not going to win the Champions League. I'd love to think we could. But you know what? It's great. Listen, I will be delighted. If we get knocked out by Barcelona, what a great run that's been. Well done, Eddie Howe and the boys, at least on that. You were brilliant. Well done for getting to the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup again. Great. It was a tough way to go out, bowing out to Man City, but no shame in that. If we can get past Man City at the weekend, I'll be over the moon. The league season, it's just so disappointing. I predict Newcastle will be fifth and to win the FA Cup. Half of my dream is still alive and well, and circulating on X somewhere. But it's. I'd also call, before I let Tom speak, I'd also call just for a bit of common sense, because ultimately, it's only a couple of weeks ago that everybody was saying that Anthony Gordon was the greatest striker in Europe. Obviously, with tongue in cheek, of course, but he scored the goals that have got us into the last 16. Everything's great. With that after Brentford, the players have all had a go at each other. Lots of things are thrown out in the open. It's all great, and we've turned a corner and we're into the last 16. We can beat Man City in the FA Cup. We're on a run now in the league. We're above Sunderland, and we're going to be in the European places again. And then, you lose a horrendous game against Everton in the circumstances we did, and everyone's flat again, and everyone's criticising, and all the usual suspects are coming out and saying X, Y, and Z. This player's that player's this, blah, 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 blah. We can't continue as a fan base like that. We can't. It's no good. It's no good at all. We've never been like that. Where's these opinions come from, and these people who've got these opinions, where have they come from? It does frustrate me at times. It really does. So I'm just asking for a bit of calm, because we win against Man United and Man City this week, and the same people who are saying this, that, and the other about Walter Marder, Anthony Gordon, Anthony Alanga, etc., 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 will then be, blowing smoke up the backside again until the next couple of defeats. So let's support the team. George isn't here tonight, but I'll shake his rattle and put his mantra out there. Supporters are supposed to support, and it is what it is this season. We are in this position, and we know why we're in this position. It's a cumulative things that have happened, and we can all point to them. We've spoken about them, on every fans forum since the start of the season. But let's try and support the lads. at this moment in time and get them through this period again, and hopefully get them through to the next round of the FA Cup at the very least, and maybe a little bit further in the Champions League. But that's my say. As I say, I couldn't really comment on the game, so I'm going to hand over to the lads now. Tom, over to you.
Well, Steve, I think you spoke a lot of sense there. Fans are supposed to be fans and support the team. So I watched the match by myself, except for I was with Pablo on the chat, and my wife was away. She's down with the grandkids, and so I was just by myself. I was looking pretty forward to the match. My wife wasn't here, so I could have a little fresh coffee with the match, and then, so I was kind of all buzzed up, ready to go. And I saw the team sheet, and it looked like it was a 4-3-3 with Valdemar up front, Gordon back on the wing, and Joe Linton in midfield. And I thought, well, that's kind of strange, but maybe he wants to split that up a little bit. But obviously that's not what happened. We have Joe Linton on the wing that it just didn't work, right? And it looked within 5 minutes that it didn't work. When he shifted and put people back to their positions, I think we played a lot better. So I put that on Eddie. But I don't blame him for trying. I know Joe Linton played in the wing before a few years ago, and he was younger, maybe a little bit quicker. But it didn't work. So we came out of the gate. We didn't look like we were in sync. Then we give up a goal where we have Tonali marking Bramwaith, which I don't really understand that, but it was a heck of a goal. It was a beautiful kick coming in, which makes me look at our corner kicks that came in when we couldn't get past the first man. There was three different players took corners, and three different players couldn't get it past the knee of the first man. I just don't get it. It's not Eddie. Eddie didn't tell them to do that. You have to look at the players a little bit. So it's a veteran squad. We got a lot of age on the squad, and you make these kind of mistakes and you make these kind of decisions. It certainly gets frustrating, but they're the players that we got, right? They're the players that we have. We're not going to have any more players before the end of the year, maybe get a couple back from injury, but these are the players we got, and we have to support them. We've had a goalie situation for a while. We've known that. Pablo's been calling it out forever. He and I were teasing a little bit about it. I call him the Nick Pope fan club president. We try to get back in the game, and we give up that second goal, and it was just so devastating that they could go into a low block after that and just kind of hang on. And that's kind of what they did. And we've had trouble with this low block since Eddie's been around, to be honest. He's never really figured out how to go up against a low block. So we were struggling, and we finally get this goal, and then, a minute later, we give up another one. I was by myself. I was high-fiving myself, and I didn't have time to high-five myself before we gave up the second goal. It was unbelievably frustrating with that. And then you look at the defense about that. Now, I know we made some adjustments to be more aggressive, a little bit more on the front foot, but it's still that's inexcusable. So, yeah, Eddie, I think kind of flubbed it with the setup. But he tried something different, and it's okay. And Gordon's been playing really great up front. I still think he's our best number 9. But some of the other players just didn't step up the way they should. The January window's coming back to haunt us. We knew we had old legs in the defense. We knew that, and we didn't strengthen that. Didn't
Spot
get
on,
younger.
Tom. Spot on.
So we know we've had some issues with goalie, but you know what? Pope is all right. I mean, I doubt if we could have replaced him and got better during the January window, but we certainly could have got some more depth in defense, particularly with Jamal Lascelles leaving. So the chickens have come home to roost, but we still have a team. I don't think the team has given up on Eddie. I don't think the fans should give up on the team. We got players that need us. They don't need the criticism when they're down. But Nick Pope knows he's made a mistake. But that's when we got to get behind him even a little bit more. So I think there's still plenty of games to play for. There's still a lot to play for. And I'm going to support the team, support the players that are there. I've made mistakes. Players on the field made mistakes. They're in a different pay bracket than I am, but they make mistakes. But for a veteran team, 2/3 through the season, 3/4 through the season, you would figure that those kind of mistakes shouldn't and couldn't be made. And for that to happen was really disappointing. But I, picked myself up. Hope the team picks themselves up. We got a big game against a crap team on this week. And we got a chance to turn it around. So I'm going to support the team, and I'll be there rooting for them.
Good stuff. Kev, I mean, you heard my ramblings there just at the start of the show. I mean, I've seen a lot of people talking about this, zonal passing, and it's something that Eddie's brought in. And, we mentioned it briefly on the professionals. I mean, this seems to be something that somebody's putting around. And I mean, is that part of the problem? And give us your take on that game at the weekend.
Well, I'll get back to that in a minute, because I've never heard of zone passing. I've had to Google it myself. That's a new phrase for me. It's playing through the thirds. That's how it's normally mentioned. But anyway, the big thing for me was not using the phrase we got stuck by the toffees, to be fair, because right from the kickoff they just punted it into our defensive third, and we couldn't get out. They just lumped it long, made it difficult for us. But when we had the ball, like you said in your opening bit, Steve, that our passing's crap. It's soft, it's slow. Yes, you can play through the thirds with zone passing, whatever. That it's not that. It's actually being able to keep a ball. And yes, you can play from defensive third to middle third and the attacking third, and it's again very methodical, which, in my opinion, allows teams to get back in and recover. Then playing to mid to low block and stifle our attacks. But if we don't play the ball with purpose, then it's just a rinse and repeat. But then if you turn the ball over and outwork with physicality from the opposition, don't care who it is, which Everton did do, by the way. They worked hard, they grafted. They got about us. They made it difficult because they knew it was probably going to be difficult. It's allegedly always difficult to play at James's Park, not for teams with good away records or recent teams that have been there. That's three losses on the bounce at home. So it's not that it mustn't be that difficult to play at St James's Park anymore. So what's different? What's changed? Well, I think it's the physicality that's been lost, the mentality of the players that's not there. I think again yes, he's tried the shape, he's tried this, he's tried that. But what the big glaring thing for me is our defensive inabilities. Yes, we've lost a lot of players due to injury in that area of the field, and there's been very inconsistent team selections in that area. Going along with the passing idea, the professional footballers, and they should know how to defend. If you've got Jason Tyndall working with the back four, which is a back 3-4, whatever it is, in a defensive part of the game, they should be well drilled enough with it. I could do one over a 45-minute session of this is how you defend, and this is how we're going to defend against this opposition. It's not rocket science of how to play against a team like in Everton, where they're just going to play it up in the Beto and just make runs off of him and overflood the midfield, and we're recovering, treading water, and would never look like we were going to get anywhere near them. But and I've said this, and again I'll repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. Look at Bournemouth when they went down. Defensive frailties let Eddie Howe down, and they couldn't score goals. They couldn't keep clean sheets. That's what our identity was when we were flying. It's keeping clean sheets.
Best record we've ever had, Kevin.
Exactly.
When we came fourth.
Yeah, playing on the front foot, a high press. Yes, there's different players in certain positions. What we do no longer have. Fair enough, but there's still a way in which you can still do that. You can still allow teams to have the ball, but you can't allow the ball to go forward. It's like triggers. The word in the game is called triggers. What happens when certain moments happen in the game? Fair enough. Okay, then. So we're unable to identify those triggers. Eddie's got these key words that he uses. Okay, well, obviously that fell by the wayside. Other players listening to what's being said. That's another possible argument for another day. I don't know. It doesn't seem like, yes, they might run around and get stuck in a little bit and whatever, but it's just it just seems very flat. No intent. No, there's no identity. We've got no identity anymore. There is an identity. It's just we'll just lay down and roll the red carpet out for you, and it just seems like it's come to a certain point where dressing room, whoever plays, doesn't matter to me. They're all pros. They should be able to. Again, this is my mentality coming out where if you're getting paid to play football, you should understand your jobs and responsibility and take that opportunity when you grasp it. And they're not doing it. Yes, we scored somehow. We got into their final third. Somehow we scored, albeit a massive deflection, by the way. And for me to move from my living room where I was watching it to get into my car to go drive an hour and a bit to go to coach a game, it was already 1-1. That should never happen. Old adage, right? First, like 10 minutes, 5 minutes after you score, immediately after you score, you switch on. You're mentally switched on. We don't concede. Don't let them get back into the game. Let's be more front foot. It happened twice. You can't. That just doesn't sit with me. It happened twice. You get back into the game, and then they go and get it. Then they go and get the winner or whatever it was. It happened. It was for what I seen of it and what I listened to it. It was mundane, boring. And once that third went in, you just knew it was curtains. You just knew it was, and that was the sad part about it. And look, the song goes, "We'll support you evermore," but we've been through a lot thinner than worse situations than this, to be perfectly honest. But it just doesn't sit right when mentality of players just fold and cave in. Can't lay a glove on Everton. Rant over. Sorry.
Okay, Pablo.
Do you need a cuddle, Kev?
Do I what?
Do you need a cuddle?
Yeah, I'm all by myself. My missus on the way to Florida.
I'll need a cuddle after I finish.
Right. Sending my love to the Mitchell family. Big Daz was on the phone to me today. What to make a couple of points, and I'll try and portray him without swearing and the emotion that he used. He's not impressed with Nick Pope, as I'm sure people understand. He would physically carry Anthony Gordon back to Liverpool should it happen. And what was the other one he told me? And he's not a big fan of Nick Walter-Mardy. But that's just a brief synopsis from Daz. I think you speak a lot of sense, Steve. And I'm trying not to get too caught up here. I'll split it in between purely the Everton match and then kind of how I see things kind of like you did. I think the Everton match, to put a spin on it, when you come away from that Everton defeat, it's a very different feeling from coming away from the Man City defeat. The Man City defeat, and that's the two parallels here. Just because you get beat, we can still appreciate as fans when we see the effort, when we see the integrity, when we see the honesty of a performance. And I think coming away from Everton, you'd maybe question that. I mean, Davy Moyes, West Ham must be kicking themselves for whinging about Davy Moyes. He does exactly what he says on the tin. He gets a team organised, he gets them stable, he gets them tough to beat, he gets them all those things that you kind of expect a manager to do. He does it, and fair play to Everton. But I think with battling our way back to 2-2, and Kev's right, it shouldn't be. That is the basic rule of Sunday football, is that you're at your most vulnerable when you score the goal and you tighten up. So I think, I don't know, where does the responsibility lie on all this? At the end of the day, it's 11 footballers on a pitch. Eddie can't physically act after that goal for them. They've got to have the nous and the professionalism to do it themselves. They work all week on a training ground. You get 100 grand a week. Surely to God, that's the basics. But without going too hard on it, I think when I look at the first goal, one thing that jumped out to me was you've got a vulnerable goalkeeper in Nick Pope who struggles with kind of cross situations. You've got a defender there. Tarkowski is literally bullying Pope into the net. And for me, I'm a big Malik Chow fan, but mate, you get in front of Tarkowski and you move Tarkowski. You don't stand there watching him bullying your goalkeeper. So for me, that set us off on the wrong foot. I think probably the two goals, we were fortunate. There were deflections. There was decent movement. Tonali pushed the ball around very well. The zip in his pass, you could see he was trying to get us forward. He had a bit of intent. And I think, I don't know, that Sandro Tonali effort at the end, it reminded me. I just saw, what's his name? I've forgotten his name now. Czech Teoti. I just saw Czech Teoti written all over that, and I was willing it to sort of strike that net. But I think, do you know what? We've been beaten by a decent Everton team. Yes, there are fractures. For me, what stands out is when I see players like Harvey Barnes, excellent for a week or two, and we're all applauding him, and then he's off the ball for 3 weeks. Joe Willock out in Paris Saint-Germain, for me, give us a right old performance, and then he goes missing again for 3. And every week we're carrying 2 of these players each week that are kind of just fluctuating in form, and it goes with our results. The Premier League has become our Achilles heel, and I purely put it down to, do you know what, lads? Without sounding shit, we found our level. For me, that team on paper, I know we're Newcastle fans and we believe that our team is better and we think we're better, because do we have a right to? Yeah, maybe we do, because we saw it last year, what they're capable of when they turn up. But ultimately, them players on that paper, all the teams in the Premier League that recruit well, that are far more savvy at recruitment than us, your Brightons, your Brentfords, to name a few. We are where we are because look at the team. We've got 4 or 5 good players in there, really good players. The rest are just, in my view, average.
Yeah.
Average. And I'm a Newcastle fan, and I don't want to say that, but I'm also a realist that suggests the season we had last year, we were punching well above our weight, and it was fantastic to see. So the big question is now, having realised that, and I hope Eddie does, and that's probably what he's struggling with at the moment, is like, we're at a plateau. Where do we go from here? And the key is now recruitment in the summer, or what we do in the summer. But when I look at players like Nick Pope, it's pointless me going on about Nick Pope. If the fan club of Nick Pope don't see the flaws in him now, Nick Pope is a bottom half of the Premier League goalkeeper, and guess what? That's where we are. So to take the next step, we need to address problems like that. When I talk about Walter Martin, of course it's not his fault, and of course but for me, I base my opinion not on him, not what I want him to be. I want him to be a success, of course I do, but I base my opinion on what I physically see on that football pitch. And what we're doing at the moment, or what Eddie's doing, in my view, and we've got to applaud him, because I'm one of the ones that said, could we try something a little bit different, Eddie? And we did, and we got a couple of little results out of it, and whether you take Qarabag away as a big milestone or whatever, and we're telling, Nick Walter-Mardy looked amazing in that deep role against Qarabag or whoever. The level of competition is different than the Premier League. And when I look at Walter-Mardy, I don't care. He is not at the level. And what we're trying to do is put square pegs in round holes now. And Eddie's moving like Joe Linton out to the left. We're now trying to accommodate a £70 million average player. Purely my view, others will disagree, and they think Walter-Mardy's got something about him. And that's cool. That's football. That's why we're all here on this show. But for me, I just think we're trying to move pieces now, trying to get ultimately some out of it. I think it's the season's petered out. I think we've just got to live in hope that something amazing happens against Man City or Barcelona. I mean, I want Galatasaray, to be fair, because we could have got a free holiday out of it. But there you go. But no, it is what it is. I got over this. I used to get a little bit upset about our results and, a bit uppity. I knew this was coming probably at the start of the season. That doesn't make me special, by the way, but a lot of people have the same opinion. I based it on what I saw as a squad, what we did in the recruitment. So I kind of foresaw that we would have a plateau for a while, but it's how we react to that. And there are a lot of positives, there are a lot of positives in that football team, but some need to be addressed. I'll leave it there, lads.
Okay. Alan, good evening.
Evening, Steve. You make a great defence, Steve, of what's going on.
Okay, thank you.
I'm like you, Steve. I only saw 20 minutes, half an hour of the game. Yeah. But overall, Steve, where we're going as a club, I'll go through the team, Steve. We've got 4 keepers at the club. Not one of them will win with the Premier League. We've got 3 or 4 defenders now at the club. Shaw, Dan Burn, Trippier. They need WD-40 on their knees to keep going. They're pensionable age. The midfield, you've got Joe, 5-yard pass. Can it be take a man on? with a 5-yard pass. Like you said, the passing has been atrocious. On Saturday, it was terrible by Joe Linton. You've got, you're seeing Elanga Bolt on the wing that doesn't know how to cross or score a goal, 50-odd million. You've got Voltemara. Is he a midfield player or a striker? Eddie doesn't know. You've got Flash. I don't want to play well against Everton, Gordon. They're not contributing and letting the third goal in, but by mistake, anything happens like that. You've got Harvey. I don't want to be on the bench, coming on and off, and he's played really well this season. And then you've got Jacob. I'm just glad to be on the pitch. Who's probably our best winger, really consistent winger. You've got Tonali. I won't be here next summer, playing well. And you've got Jacob Ramsey, who's now starting to play well, but he must have been sick. And he was sick at half time, so he went off playing with that lot. You've got to remember, Steve, I look at it as a whole picture. And I look, we played the first year of Eddie Howe, we finished 11th. And we played great, getting from a relegation spot to 11th position. 5 years on, we are now 13th. And have we got any sight of winning the Premier League? I take George's words, and obviously I'm sorry to hear that he's fallen, but I would say to George tonight, I take your words, George. I want to be greedy. I want to win the Premier League. And we're 13th, and we're nowhere near winning the Premier League. And when I high out facts and figures every week, and people go, I'm Mr. Doom and this, that, the other, guess what? The 6 teams that we keep getting beat off win trophies year in, year out, year in, year out. And we keep getting beat. So the quality of player that we're signing, and that last summer has been shown, is at the minute has been an absolute disaster, lads. Absolute disaster. We spent 150 million. Whisper, I've seen Graves Monument move faster than him. Where is he? He's an invisible man, isn't he? You just don't see him when he comes on the pitch. So we're 13th now, lads. And yes, Steve, I agree. We should support the team. But then again, those, when we played Everton in the October, we won them 4-1. Those thousands of Everton fans left. Well, we're getting beat 3-2 on Saturday, lads, and those thousands of our fans give up on our team. So, and that's not a dig at the fans, but that's how the fans work today.
Yeah, today.
I'm disillusioned at the club because I think Tom highlighted about we should have signed a couple of players in the January window. Eddie Howe is not. People say we spent 750 million or $500,000 taken off the easer. But you've got to remember the teams that we're facing have spent millions, billions more than us over the last 20 years. And so we're just playing catch up all the time. And it's damned annoying, Steve, I must admit. I've got a lot to say, but trying to get it out without ranting too much. I feel as if Eddie's getting, like I said a few weeks ago, hung out to dry, and he's struggling because the recruitment has been so poor in the summer. Like the next 5 games, for instance, lads, if you want to put it on looking at the fixture list, how many realistically are we going to win the next 5? Because if we lose against Man United, Man City and Chelsea, the Sunderland game, the pressure on Eddie Howe will be absolutely immense. And I won't take anything but a win at that game because they're poor. Sunderland are poor, Steve. And guess what? We're behind them in the league. So that just shows you what a league season we've had. I'm hoping and praying, like we all are, as a fan, that we've turned, like Pablo said, take something out the back and win. Like a Man United, who, in my opinion, what we've touched on tonight, where Eddie's now starting to put, players in the wrong positions. Carrick's just come in there and played the right players with quality, mind, in the right positions. And guess what? They started winning games and they look absolutely fantastic. On Wednesday night, lads, I expect Man United to sit back because, like Tom said, we don't break down teams with a lower block and they'll counter-attack with. That's as simple as that. Man United's plan. I mean, I watched the game against Everton the other week. It was like watching paint dry. One attack, one great counter-attack, and they scored 1-0. Game over. And I expect that on Wednesday night, Steve, to be fair on there. But as a whole, I'm wondering what positive, Steve. You know, we're one positive, and I'd thrive on positivity. But name us one positive thing the club's doing, Steve, to make we elite club. I'm talking about sponsorships. I'm talking again. I keep rabbiting on. I'll do it till the dying day. If I don't see things happening, Steve, in the next 18 months regarding the training ground, the new ground, and sponsorships, I will be putting these new owners in the same class as Lord Westwood, Gordon McKeague, Stan Seymour, and even Sir John Hall to a certain extent. They're here. We all know they're here for the money, but we want them to be. We were hoping they were here for the trophies as well. And I'll put them in that bracket. I will never put them in the Ashley bracket. That's going too far. But I want direction from the owners, Steve. Not just Eddie Howe. I want somebody next to Eddie Howe to explain what's going to happen instead of just reports coming out, this photograph, that photograph of the ground. I want action, Steve. I want, action taken for the ground to move so everybody gets a boost. And if we sign players, they can see them clubs moving forward. And some of the podcasts, the local journalists already saying one of our star players is a done deal, got signed away to another club. And without saying the name, because I won't say it, but it's already done deal, he's away. If we lose 2 of our star men, Steve, where we're going next season, I'll look at 18 months ahead, are we going to finish where we are now? So that means as soon as Lewis Hall, a couple of years' time, goes, oh yeah, I'm not going anywhere. We're back to being the 80s where we sold Waddle and Gascoigne and Batesy because the ambition isn't there. That's my greatest fear. I want to win the Premier League, lads. And yes, we've got one hand tied behind our back, but this season has been an absolute mess. I predicted Ning, Steve, so I'm even over optimistic on mine. And I'm sure I saw Ian Toon Trader selling big issues in the big market that pay for the £100. He was Steve Hasty, at the end of the season because he predicted we'd finish in the top 5. I honestly didn't see it that way, Steve, at the start. I know everybody was on a high, but I agree with Pablo. Last season, we pulled massively above our weight, and guess what, Steve? We had a star striker. We desperately need something like a Nottingham Forest. I know it sounds daft, lads, and it'll not happen. But we need, when we laughed at Nottingham Forest 2 or 3 years ago, needing 15 players and they got them and they took a points deduction. We need something like that to get this project back on the road. Because if not, if we're just playing 3 or 4 players next year and we let 2 star strikers go, we are going to be a mid-table team for years to come. And that's my greatest fear, Steve. But roll on. The next game's exciting. You know, when I heard the draw Barcelona, I was over the moon. We've got Barcelona. It's a glamour tie. On its date, St James's, I think we could beat them, but we would because we're so Jekyll and Hyde. The next 2 games, Steve, for me, are season-defining. Man United and Man City in the Cup. I definitely think we could have a chance at Man City. Like I say, it's went up after playing them the other week, but we've got to win. Game's about winning, lads. It's a game about winning trophies, not about just, I know we had the banner it's all about trying and we want a team that tries. That's fair enough. But with the backing we've got, we should be aiming a lot higher than 12th and 11th position, lads. I'll let it go and I'll let Martin have his say. I could wrap it on an hour, Steve, sorry. But
no, I think we all could. Look, it's an emotive subject. I think the problem is that a lot of the stuff that we've discussed on the Fans Forum and other shows on this platform is that what is the point of raking over old ground? I think we all know now there's an accumulative problem this season, and it is a roller coaster season. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. For me, it doesn't make any point, and there's no point really in looking and saying comparing Eddie Howe to Steve Bruce like some people have done over the weekend by saying we've done a similar run to Steve Bruce, just as it's pointless comparing him to Kevin Keegan. It's 2 different eras, it's 2 different set of players. And yeah, Eddie's broken lots of records, but that's a record he probably wouldn't have wanted to equal. But I'm sure from his perspective, he doesn't focus on that. He wants to get things right in the dressing room. And of course he knows, as he said a couple of weeks ago when we were on our last downward spiral, that if things, you know, if things don't go well, you know, there's, you know, he's one of these people who if he thinks it's best for the club, he would walk away. So we've heard that from Eddie Howe already. But then we had a resurgence. We had some good wins into the last 16 of the FA Cup, into the next round, into the quarterfinals of the FA Cup would be great. You know, we've got positive things in the season. It's just the league season has massively let us down, you know, and that's the disappointment that's come. But Martin, you know, lots of good points tonight. I think we've all had a say.
Win, by the way, Steve. I'm still
win. I know. I think we all are, and I think, you know, inevitably when things change and, you know, a new manager comes in, whether it be 12 months, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, whatever, you know, Eddie will be remembered, you know, for the rest of the time as the man who won us the League Cup, you know, which is great. Martin.
Yeah, I think all the lads have made really valid points. I think, look, as a group of fans, I don't think you can be right or wrong for whichever opinion you hold. Whether you're already in or already out, whether you think we're playing shit or whether you think we're playing well. You're entitled to have your own opinion, and you're entitled to have your convictions whichever way you want them. And I think as a fan base, we get rattled across social media when somebody has a different view to what we may have ourselves. And I'm extremely opinionated when it comes to the game, because I see things that maybe I see and I dislike, and maybe Kevin sees it differently. So me and Kev can disagree, but we still want the same thing for the club, which is we want long-term success, and we want to see the team win. We've all seen the club go through crappy patches, right? Bad owners, bad managers. You could name as many as you want. But where we are right now is it's poor, right? Saturday was embarrassing. For me, we couldn't string a pass together. And I think, you know, just to touch on a couple of points throughout the game, we haven't played well since the Carabao Cup final 12 months ago. Barring a couple of sparing wins across Europe and an odd couple of league wins, we haven't played well. We've kept 3 clean sheets in 29 games. That's fact. 3 clean sheets in 29 games. And I take Pablo's point and Kevin's point and yours, Steve. Players coming in, whether they're under 18s, whether they're under 21s, whether they're full-time professionals, if you're coming in to replace a player that's injured and you are given a game plan, you're given that opportunity to take your chance. And we've got professional players, in my opinion, on Saturday who hid and couldn't string one pass together. Nick Pope, a lot of people slating him. We know he's not good enough. He's never been same since he injured his shoulder. He doesn't like to dive to the right-hand side, the same side that Beto scored with the touchback. He doesn't like to even try and attempt to make a positive dive unless it's down low. So we know it's an issue. Is Ramsdale any better? Yeah, he's prone to a mistake, but he's probably a bit more mobile in my book. So I think there is good argument to have him there. The other side of it is we had an opportunity to recall Vladimachos from Sevilla. Guys pulling in star turns over in Spain, and he's been one of their players of the season. We didn't bother. I think the other side for me that's more worrying, along with the 3 goals, the 3 clean sheets in 29, is we've been reliant on home form to save us, because our away form has been absolutely atrocious all season, barring a couple of wins. Yeah. And now the home form's gone. We've lost 3 on the bounce. I fully suspect that's going to be 4 on the bounce when we play Man United, because I think Alan is absolutely right. They'll sit back, they'll give us the ball, as did Everton, as did Brentford, as did West Ham, because they know we can't do a thing with it. Yeah. They know we can't score goals. The same positional changes of going 4-3-3. Our wingers are still way far apart from a striker when we have a central striker. Yeah. And we don't seem to be learning from those changes. Yes, we've had injured players, but you have to adapt around that. Spurs have had injured players, and I know they're atrocious as well. But 7 games ago, we were nigh on level points with Man United in positioning. We're now 15 points behind. All Carrick has done is come in, solidified them, put the right pegs in the right hole, and he's persevered. Sesko has started scoring goals. Scoring a brothel with a fiver hanging out of his back pocket a few weeks back. Now he's scoring. And a few canny good goals as well, by the way.
Yeah, there were.
But you have to persevere. I think the treatment, and people can take this whichever way they want, the treatment that Waldemar has got, I think, is justly unfair. And I think to a degree, Eddie hung him out with the comment a couple of weeks back when he said, yes, he's maybe dropped Waldemar back a bit further, but it's a puzzle that Nick is going to have to sort himself. And I thought Eddie was bang out of order for that comment, because I think he hung the lad out. Because why is it Waldemar's problem to solve when he's being played out of position? Now, there's two sides to that. Either Waldemar was brought in by somebody else within the club and he wasn't Eddie's choice, which is beginning to look a lot more like that, or Eddie doesn't have the tactical nous to be able to change the system up to get the best out of Waldemar. Because I tell you one thing, lads, without the assists, and he's got 4, by the way, the same as our current wingers, including Gordon, who doesn't get spoken about, and his 10 goals, I tell you now, lads, we'd be fucked, because we'd be in the bottom 3. And that's a fact. So I'm a little bit fed up with journalists, apart from Lee Ryder, and I will give him his credit. Every other journo is having a hop off of Waldemar going, lads, brutal. Shearer done it on Match of the Day, and he was wrong. Lee's right. Is Waldemar doing everything correctly? No. 23 years old, new league, new country, 10 goals, 4 assists. I tell you what, lads, I clap my hands at him at the end of the season because I think he's done superb. And anybody that says otherwise, I'm sorry, but you're an idiot. Because we've got Gordon hasn't scored a goal in open play for how long? Yes, he's banging them in against Qarabag. Did Qarabag play against us with a low block in Europe? No, they didn't. They came at us. And we would expect to go on with the players we have to beat them. So I just think we're making mistakes. Tom made a really good point. We were chatting about it coming on screen. The first goal for Everton and the way we set up. If Tonali, Mark and Braithwaite was what our tactical plan was from the get-go, then Jesus Christ, lads, what was that all about? If it wasn't what was meant to happen in a defensive area when they got a corner and Braithwaite, who's 6'5", and Tonali marked him, which of the senior leadership team on the pitch allowed that to happen? Who let Tonali mark him? Well, like 6'5" against what's Tonali? Maybe 6, maybe less. So we were just completely undone and just not tactically set up at all. So I think it's been hugely disappointing. Yeah, it's great. Alan's point, we've got Barcelona. Great. Happy days. Great to have those kind of nights under the lights. But lads, the Premier League is the bread and butter.
Of course it is.
That's where your seasons are defined. We're not going to get Europe again next season, right? That's a fact. We're not finishing top 7. I don't see it. And I can tell you one thing. In current form, without a few players picking up their form, we don't beat Sunderland at home either. And I just imagine what the Heat is going to pick up. And people will talk about the players and Wissa. On Wissa, I think Mitch, I listened to the show from Sunday, Steve. I think Mitch and Stu are right. I don't think Wissa's fit. There's something off.
Yeah.
And, he's not getting the time, so there's something funny there. I don't get the setup from Saturday, why you would play Joe on the left. And listen, I'm all for Eddie trying something different. We've had a couple of times where we've gone 4-2-3-1, where I think we've actually looked a lot better when Waldemar is at 10. I just keep going back to this 4-3-3. I just don't get it. And then we'll put Joe on the left, Gordon up front, and Waldemar in midfield. Like, we were just set up completely wrong from the get-go and from the first whistle. And as much as we changed it around dead quick, we played a little bit better. But like, lads, the mentality of those players was so easy to score against. So easy. At home and away. And I genuinely think if there wasn't 3 worse teams below us, we'd be massively, massively struggling this season. And if any of them put a run together, or Tottenham puts a run together, I tell you what, lads, with 10 games to go, we could be in trouble. Now, I think, though, luckily enough, those 3 teams below us are worse. But I tell you, you know, I've had my issues with Eddie Howe in the setup and stuff. And I think he is at a crossroads where I'm not convinced he knows how to get us out of it. But I'll stay. I said on this show a few weeks back, I'll stop slating and I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and I'll back him till the end of the season.
Then make a decision.
I'm genuinely worried as to where we are at the minute. You know, another few days we could be out of the FA Cup, out of the Champions League, and beaten at home by the Mackhams. And I think if that happens, the noise is going to be unbearable within that management team. And I just genuinely worry where that leads to. So I think the masses of problems. I think, look, the league is done. It's great to have the run. You know, we'll all look forward to seeing Barcelona under the lights. I'm scared what Yamini Yamal's going to do to us and that defensive unit. But, you know, my final point on recruitment, and I know, you know, we can talk about the game at the Stadium of Light and, you know, players and Sunderland and whatever else. But I tell you one thing, they recruited well. They replaced nearly a full team and they've lost only once at home. So as much as they might have some players who we don't know about, I tell you one thing, lads, they're bloody hard to beat.
I know.
Because they're playing as a unit and we're not playing as a unit. And what we've got, normally in a team, you can afford 1 or 2 players to be out of form. I tell you one thing, other than 1 or 2 on Saturday, we had 9 out of form. That's a massive worry. Massive.
Good stuff, Martin. As always, good stuff from all of you lads. We're going to look ahead. We've only got about 15 minutes to look ahead to the match at the weekend. On Wednesday, midweek. Wednesday sees Michael Carrick's Manchester United arrive at St James's Park. It's an 8:15 kickoff. It is live on TNT Sports. Newcastle are aiming for their 4th successive home league win over Manchester United, which they haven't achieved since 1931. Less positively, they'll hope to avoid a 4th successive home league defeat, something they haven't endured since 2018-2019, when they kicked off with 5 St James's Park defeats in a row under Rafa Benitez. Since the last meeting of the two sides, a 1-0 home win at Old Trafford on Boxing Day, Manchester United have played 11 games in all competitions and Newcastle have played 18. Manchester United, Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire and Lisandro Martinez are all doubtful for this fixture. Since he took charge as caretaker manager in mid-January, Michael Carrick's side have won 6 Premier League games and they have drawn the other. A 1-0 home win over Newcastle on Boxing Day began Man United's current 11-game unbeaten Premier League run. Brian Mbeumo has scored in his most recent 2 Premier League appearances against Newcastle United, when a Brentford player, of course. Benjamin Sesko has scored in his last 3 appearances, as Martin mentioned. Referee is Peter Banks' 5th game involving Newcastle this season. He took charge of the draw at Leeds and the home wins over Forest and Fulham and the Derby defeat. VAR is Paul Tierney, and don't forget, if you are going to the match and you've got a little change, stick it in the buckets where the food bank are. Jamie Rubin will be doubling that every game this season. So, Tom, Manchester United at home. I've got to be honest, out of the 2 games prior to the Everton game, I fancied us more for this one than I did Everton. But, you know, I look at this now as it's a must win. And, you know, I'm worried about how Newcastle United approach this game. Although when the chips are down and we play what ultimately is a bigger and better team this season than us, Newcastle have produced. So I'm still confident, but I'm still going to err on the side of caution and go for a 2-1 win on this one. I still think we can do enough to win this game, and we must win this game if we're going to have any chance of any European football at all next season. I think we'll have to start winning our home games. What's your feelings on this, Tom?
Well, I asked the Magic 8 Ball, and it said outlook blurry. And it is blurry. We don't know what team's going to show up. This team could play the best team in the world and take them right down to the wire. We did that with PSG. And we could lose to really bad teams. So home and away, it doesn't matter. So it's kind of a crapshoot. It has to be up to the players. Are they going to come out and play? Up to the supporters, they're going to support the players on the field. So if we want to do it and we have that support, then I think it's going to be a good game. They're not that good a team, although they're not as bad a team as they were, right? So we know that they're athletic. They're have shored up their defense. Say what you want about Maguire. I think the guy's awesome. For as long as he's been, he's a complete jerk. Fernandez, complete jerk. It's easy to hate this team that we're playing, but they can produce. Both of them can produce. Both of those players would make us a better team. And back to Pickford, someone said it on there. If Pickford was on our team, we would be in Champions League spots. That's how many points Nick Pope has given up. So I don't know what to say. I'm going to go with a 2-0 win just because I got my black and white shirt on. But I don't know. I'll be supporting them, be excited about it, think we should beat them. But like the Magic 8 Ball, the outlook is blurry.
Okay, what was your prediction, Tom?
2-0.
2-0. Okay, Kev.
Like Tom, I just really don't know. But I can just see an Geordie coming in and doing one over on Eddie Howe. However, the response Wednesday will be telling moving forward. Yeah. If we get we have to have a response. Look, you can have all the meetings in the world. You can have all these. You can do all of this, whatever. It comes from the gaffer. It comes from the management team. In terms of getting them riled up, getting them ready, getting them going, whatever. You've got to do your basics. You've got to make it an ugly affair. I don't care what system, players, whatever. It's irrelevant. You've got to go and win this game. If Eddie Howe wants to continue within his role, the privilege that he has doing, he has to pull something out the bag, and the players have to go and execute that. So, with all that said, worried about their midfield area, worried about their counter-attacking. I'll take a draw, but it's more the performance and how it all plays out. I'll take a 1-1.
Okay. Pablo.
Yeah, exactly. I think before this Carrick reign, and hats off to the lad, he's come in and worked wonders and got a tune out of him. I tell you what, he can talk a glass eye to sleep, that one. I know he's a lad from Newcastle, but shit me, he bores me. But I'm going to be realistic. Do I want us to win? Yes. Do I think we will win? Currently, at the moment, no. But I think if we apply ourselves like we did at Man City away, then of course we're more than capable of getting a result. But I think for me, the way I'm feeling just today, I think the league form's going to get a little bit worse before it gets better. I think we're just holding on to these cup runs at the minute. And I do think Man United will probably do us, which is painful to say because I despise them.
Okay. Alan.
I think it should be easy win, Steve. 4-0. I'll do it, George. No. I'll be Kevin. I think I'm hoping and praying for a 1-1. I think it'll be tight. I just hope they don't catch one on the break. I think it'll be an exciting game. They normally are with Man United. But they've just got to apply themselves, like the lads have said above, and Pablo. They've got to apply themselves and give us some hope, because if we draw or get a result and win, then it'll set up for the quarter by the Man City game. And that's what we need, because that team is lacking confidence big time. So we need a result. And I agree with you, Steve. Any chance of any form of Europe, in my eyes, is gone. It's a top 10 we're fighting for, Steve, to be honest. But I'll go with 1-1, Steve. I won't wrap it on too much.
Okay, mate. Good stuff. Martin, last but by no means least, your prediction for the Man United game?
Yeah. I hate to be the voice of doom and gloom. That's normally Alan's job. Do you know what? I mean, Pablo, I think, is pretty much bang on. It depends on which team turns up, but I think we're just in such a run of form at the moment, in particular in the league, and Man United are on the up. And I think they have the ability to damage us on the break. I think they'll sit back and just soak up anything we do throw. And just this inability to keep a lead or not ship a goal, I think there'll be goals in it. So I just think with the way form is at the minute and purely based on form, I think it's going to be a Man United win. Sorry, lads. I think maybe 2-1.
Don't blame you, man. To be honest, don't blame you.
Cracking show tonight, lads. Thank you to everyone tuning in. Thanks to the moderators who were in the chat as well. But thanks to Martin, to Alan, to Pablo, to Tom, and to Kev. And look forward to seeing you guys next week. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 o'clock. We'll talk the tune. Until then, have a good night, whatever you're doing. Good night.
Take care, everyone.
See you later, folks.
A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at their website, skipsandbins.com, or contact them, www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to United Group Travel, our fanzine sponsor. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. 2-crew driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges. Hot and cold snacks and drinks available on the coach. All excursions included. Their website, www.unitedgrouptravel.com. Email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com. Or telephone 01670 632 460. Or mobile 0791 666 4174. Deposits from £50 per person. A big thanks to Media Arts. Their website, www.media-arts.co.uk. Email info@media-arts.co.uk. Or telephone 0191 637 5061. If you want to help support the channel, then you can click the subscribe button. We still do 7 shows a week. It is free. Hit the thumb up to like the video and click share to share to your social media. A big thanks to Sports Social Podcast Network. You can listen to us on the road, on this network, or by tuning into iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. You can also join the channel by hitting the join button on YouTube, or go to our website, nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk. You can pay a one-off fee of £25 and you'll receive a membership card, a beer mat, a fridge magnet, a key ring, a badge, and a pen. £25, nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk. The Return of the Entertainers is a walking football match that takes place at Gateshead Leisure Centre on Saturday the 6th of June 2026 in aid of Age UK North Tyneside. Sponsored by Shout Digital and Darren Baldwin Funerals. Tickets available from our website or from Woucher. There's also an opportunity for you to play in the game, either with or against the legends. Go to our website, nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk, for more details. 29th of January 2027 sees an evening with Beardsley, Cole and Ferdinand at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House, hosted by John Gibson. Tickets are on sale now from the box office 0191 243 1171 or tynetheatreandoperahouse.uk or directly from us at our website. Northern Horizon is a Blake 7 convention in aid of Age UK North Tyneside. Tickets available from our website. And Rebel Base Northeast, the Star Wars Fan Convention, Sunday the 2nd of August at the Copthorne Hotel. Tickets available on our website. The Craze, Fred Dinage, Ronnie, Reggie and me takes place at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House, box office 0191 243 1171 or tynetheatreandoperahouse.uk. That takes place Wednesday the 11th of November at 7:30. We've also got some books available on our website. Will Scott's Popular Entertainers book, 92 to 97, Kevin Keegan's Legacy, is available now. And The Promoter and the Photographer, 25 years of bringing the stars to Tyneside, all proceeds going to Age UK. All books available, nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk.